everybody. Welcome to another episode in our series, 3 Things You Need to Know Right Now, where in it, we talk with the experts about some of the hottest topics today. My name is Jennifer Best. I am the Vice President of Marketing with AAE Speakers Bureau. We are a full-service speakers bureau based in Durham, North Carolina, and we work with event planners and meeting organizers on their corporate events. Today, I'm really excited because we're going to welcome a very special guest who happens to be local to the Triangle. And we're going to be talking about what we need to know about effective leadership through the eyes of a beekeeper with Leigh-Kathryn Bonner. Hi, Leigh-Kathryn.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Very good.
Great. Leigh-Kathryn Bonner's buzzing company, I love that, BeeDowntown, installs and maintains beehives on corporate campuses while simultaneously providing year-round employee engagement and leadership development programming for many of the world's largest companies, such as Microsoft, Delta Airlines, Chick-fil-A, MetLife, and about 70 others. She's part of the TED speaking community, a 2017 Southern Living Southerner of the Year, a 2018 Inc. Magazine 30 Under 30 Rising Star, a 2019 Forbes 30 Under 30 Social Entrepreneur, and North Carolina Woman of the Year. Most recently, she was named to the Forbes Next 1000 list of entrepreneurs redefining the American dream. So, Leigh-Kathryn, what is going on this year for you? Clearly, you have a lot of free time. What's been going on?
Yes, at the start of every year in the spring, we're an agricultural company. So when the world wakes up, the earth wakes up, our business gets very busy very fast. So we're expanding to new cities all up and down the East Coast. We're in 5 different cities: Raleigh, Durham, Atlanta, Charlotte, Richmond, DC, and Tampa. And we'll go to a couple more this year too. So it will be a busy year of about 500 beehives and about 100 corporate partners.
Oh, wow. That is so exciting to hear. Whoa. That's a lot of geography too. I mean, the entire Southeast, it sounds like Mid-Atlantic to Southeast coming as, as far north as Washington, DC. That's a lot of miles to cover.
It's a route business as much as a beekeeping business. We like to call it the Southern Smile, is where we sit within.
I like that. So today we're going to be talking a little bit more about what you need to know about effective leadership from the eyes of a beekeeper. So what do we need to know to start with about our discussion today?
The biggest piece of this is going to be talking and first understanding the foundation of what our Leadership Institute is based on. And it's all focused on biomimicry. Biomimicry is how you take and look at naturally occurring processes in our world and use that for a human solution to design or generating new ideas. Many people, when I speak on this, have never heard of biomimicry. I ask people to raise their hands. No hands get raised. But when I ask someone or the audience, has anyone ever ridden in an airplane? Every hand goes up. And if you've ridden in an airplane, you've experienced biomimicry. It's something that touches every facet of our lives, and we just don't realize it. So biomimicry in airplanes there's lots of pieces of it, but if you look at the wings of an airplane, they're actually engineered and designed off of birds of prey wings, because birds of prey wings are aerodynamic and can move without needing to flap nearly as much. So that's one example of biomimicry in our engineering world. But at BeeDowntown, we took it and we flipped it and we kept the human approach to it, but looking at Mother Nature's best example of a super social structure of a species, and how we as humans can learn from their efficiencies and their ability to be a very high performing team for us in our leadership roles at our corporations.
Wow. I love how you can bring this topic together from beekeeping and bring it back into the leadership experience. And thank you for doing that. So without further ado, let's dig in for a second. And what is the first thing we need to know?
So we currently live in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. It's a military term, but it's called VUCA. And the world we live in, it is ever changing as well. So we have to get used to creating clarity instead of certainty. Bob Johansen, he's a futurist, he speaks a lot about this. And so what we'll do first is we'll look at how the honeybees create clarity and certainty, or the beekeeping world. And then we'll go into our humans too. So to start, it's best to look at the beekeeper. The beekeeper, every time they open up a beehive, they'll learn something new. It's the beekeeper's job to create as much clarity within the beehive when they open up the hive as possible. They're there to manipulate, to work the bees, to try to create the colony's success for them and to help aid them along in that success. We cannot create certainty no matter what we do as the beekeeper in the beehive. We will never be certain of what our work has accomplished or what our work will lead to. But what we're trying to do is create clarity to provide a pathway for the pollinators to be successful. In our leadership world, oftentimes we err as leaders on the side of, in an uncertain world, trying to create certainty. But really, an effective leader should be focused on creating clarity. Clarity for the future, clarity for their teams to know how to be enabled to be their best selves, to be able to move towards the vision, the future state. And while in our VUCA world, things may shift and that path may move towards a different path, that's okay, because we can adapt quickly. And that leads us into the next biomimicry lesson.
Whoa. Okay. You just dropped a big one right there. So let's go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I really like that idea. Somebody who's managed teams, just providing clarity. You can't underestimate the importance of that. But I also appreciated what you said about certainty. There are no guarantees in anything we do. In the workplace, in life, there's no guarantee of anything. And I like that by focusing on the clarity part of it, like you just said, you really can create a framework that somebody can be successful and have the best possible outcome without predicting what that's going to be.
Yes, a good leader is an enabler of the natural capacity of their teams to do good work. A good beekeeper is an enabler of the natural capacity of their bees to do just the same.
Wow, great. Okay, what's the second thing we need to know?
Second thing is all about adaptability. So in the beehive, if pressure changes in our outside environment, the bees will adapt and quickly return from their flights of foraging back to the beehive. If an alarm pheromone goes off, it's a smell that the bees can release in the beehive if something goes wrong. It smells like ripe bananas. So as a beekeeper, never eat your bananas before you go into a beehive. But if that alarm pheromone goes off, the bees immediately move towards the stressor. If the spacing in their beehive gets messed up, they like 3/8 of an inch of space between all of their beeswax because it is the most efficient use of space in their beehive. If the spacing gets messed up, then they will quickly adapt and they'll hold hands and create a lattice work through the beehive, and they'll pass beeswax from one bee to another to help recreate that 3/8 of an inch space. And they'll move towards that stressor in literally seconds. They'll send off an alarm, they'll communicate as a team, and they'll move towards the stressor. In our human world, especially in this VUCA world, it is deeply important to be adaptable, to move towards the stressors as a unit, never away, to not dig your heels in when something changes or something shifts and say, well, this is how we've always done it, so we're going to do it that way. I always think of the Friends episode when they're carrying the couch and they're shouting, pivot, pivot. In the startup community, we have to do that. And when COVID hit, what I told my team is, we are an agricultural company that puts beehives on the largest corporate campuses in the world, and every corporate campus in the world just shut down. We will get through this. This is not going to be what ends our company. We love what we do far too much. So we need to take the lessons that we've learned from the bees, that we teach about the bees, and use them for ourselves. We have to walk the walk right now. And adaptability was a big one for us during COVID. And we not only survived COVID, but we advanced and we grew. Because just like the bees, we said, okay, what's the stressor? What are our 3 main stressors? Let's adapt and move towards the stressors as a unit.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, we did too. I mean, the pandemic, there was no better way to force adaptability upon an entire world than to take away the ability to leave their homes and to go to work and to do the things that you've been doing without even thinking you're doing them. And we had the same experience with us. Like we chose the adaptability. We chose to really quickly pivot at a time people were still figuring it out. And we just said, we got to take our chance. Let's get it together. And it was a team effort, just like you just described. So
absolutely. It takes a strong, effective leader to be able to help encourage and enable that being a choice within an organization, especially in a VUCA time, because you kind of want to freeze and hold on to what you've got, the assets you have, and just try to ride it out. But the teams that can adapt are able to use that as as a positive, even within the negative. Honeybees have been around for 100 million years. They've been around far before us. They will be around far after us. And a big piece of that is, as a species, they understand how to adapt within their environment to continue to remain successful. And our businesses need to be able to do just the same.
No, that's amazing. Yes, I agree. Agree completely. That's a really great point there. Okay, last but not least, what is the third thing we need to know?
Yeah, the third thing is trust. So at BeeDowntown, we're very careful not to over anthropomorphize anything, which means putting human characteristics to an animal. And our team went back and forth on this a lot. Our chief learning officer, who built this with me, is a retired colonel from the US Army. He's professor emeritus of Duke. He was on a dean at West Point as well. He has his PhD in organizational psychology and leadership from Georgia Tech. And we went back and forth on this, where he said, can they trust? I said, no, that's a human characteristic. He said, but can they? Because this is a cornerstone of leadership, is building teams and building trust as a leader for your team. We eventually decided that it wasn't. And it was because of Joe, our chief learning officer. He brought up the point of, they've been around for so long. Is there the ability for trust to be inherent in the colony, the beehive, at this point? And I agreed with him very much so on that. Is he says there's only a few human teams that work with inherent trust, and they still have their flaws. One of them would be very similar to a Navy SEAL team, because if you don't 100% inherently trust the words coming out of your teammate's mouth, it can get you killed. The honeybees, they inherently trust one another. When that alarm pheromone goes off in the beehive, it's not like a smoke detector going off where humans say like, I'm going to keep eating my lunch. I'm going to stay in bed. I don't smell smoke. It's fine. When that alarm pheromone goes off, those bees immediately move towards one another. The beekeeper also has the ability to break the trust of their bees. If you're a bad beekeeper and you're aggressive in your beehive, you smush a lot of bees, you stress them out every time you open up the beehive, they recognize faces, and they have the ability to see my face if I'm not a good beekeeper and say she's back and get stressed out and want to sting me. But if you are a good beekeeper who loves your bees, who moves slowly in your beehive, who again creates clarity for the bees, helps that, then they like you, and you have their trust. Trust is finite. Trust, you're constantly in the human world using up the trust you have of the relationships you have. Trust doesn't necessarily have to be broken. It can also simply be used up to where you continually pull from that relationship and don't give back the trust that you've used up. And then eventually it's just gone. There's no trust left. So as leaders and as building high performing teams, we have to always be trying to replenish the coffers of trust. If we have to ask for a favor because we're going to miss a deadline, how do we then build back the trust that we've used? And good, effective leaders understand the importance of trust within their team, because a trusting team is an efficient team, and it's a very effective team.
Yeah. Like she said, no, I completely understand and appreciate what the logic and the discussions that you must have been having with your team behind the scenes, debating the merits of whether bees can trust or not trust.
Yes.
When as a human characteristic, it's just innate. I mean, in our lives, whether it's personally or in the workplace, trust is so easily and it's so fragile, and it's so important for you to trust your direct supervisors as well as the other way. You got to trust that your team is going to deliver on what they've committed to. And I imagine that it probably operates something like that. Although I'm very excited to hopefully learn more about bees after this discussion.
Yes. And that's the whole hope of what we do and the keynotes we give, is that we're not just throwing a ton of information at people where they're taking notes and they're trying to remember all of these different theories and studies. We're simply here to tell you the story of the bees, and they're very much like parables. You remember them, you don't forget them, because you think, oh, the bees adapt quickly, our team can adapt like the bees. Or The beekeeper doesn't need to create certainty. They need to create clarity. And that's what I need to do as the leader. And it's just, there's stories and parables and learning lessons that that are, for lack of a better term, sticky for people. And they're different. They, people want to learn about the bees. We call the honeybees, the pandas of the insect world. People love them. They give you honey, they're sweet, they're fuzzy, they can sting you, but only if you scare them. So the honeybees are a much loved creature in our world.
Oh, definitely. Well, this was so fantastic. I just want to thank you again for taking time out from your schedule, which clearly is very busy with your expansion and everything going on right now, just to spend a few minutes with me and talk to me a little bit about this connection between beekeeping and leadership, because I think that our clients that are corporations and universities, associations, they can totally get what you're trying to get across just by these stories and just explaining it in such a clear way like you just did. So thank you so much today.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity.
So I want to encourage everybody to check out Leigh-Kathryn's profile on our website if you get a chance. And also, if you want to learn more about BeeDowntown, you can follow them on Instagram. If you enjoyed today's video, I would like to invite you to follow and subscribe to All American Entertainment's YouTube channel, and be sure to follow us on social media so that you can get updates about future episodes. Again, Leigh-Kathryn, thank you so much for your time today, and I hope everyone has a great day. Take care.
Bye.